And welcome back to another episode of Shovick Sports Shit. I'm Cory.
I am Austin.
Good episode this week. We're going to talk about some MVP candidates here shortly, kind of through this point of the season, and whether or not that could be Joe Burrow, even though the Bengals haven't done so hot. So let's just jump right into it. Shovick Sports hits, KU, massive win. On the road, BYU, also basketball team taking care of business again. So another good week for KU athletics. Give us your thoughts on those.
Yeah, nothing surprising with basketball, so I won't talk too much on it. Just nice to have depth. Nice to see basically Bill Self being able to just work in a lab like the mad scientist he is. It's not going to be pretty in the non-conference. Teams like this for Bill never will be, just because he is trying to find the right combinations, right skill set, and learn his players. Yeah, not a whole lot for the basketball. With football, again, I think we said it after the Iowa State win. Like, it's fucking awesome, but it's also the what could have been season. The last few weeks is what everyone expected KU to be coming into the season. Just unfortunate that had a lot of close losses, and it's getting fucking old watching all these college football shows and College Game Day, and they're like, KU's the best 6-loss team you're ever going to see. Even in the college football playoff, they were like, Colorado has Kansas coming up. Like, don't sleep on that. Could be one, and it's frustrating, but it's kind of nice that they didn't let the season fold. They very easily, once they lost that 4, 5, 6 games, they could have just folded. So I think that goes a lot to the guys they have. I think it goes a lot to the coaching staff, because they all realize that it's not just this year that they're playing for. Like, KU's still trying to build towards something. You still have to try and look good for recruits and even other coaches and everything else. So it's been nice to end strong. Even though it's a 4-6 season so far, KU's checking off a lot of boxes of things they haven't done in 5 years, 10 years, 40 years. So even though it's been disappointing from where expectations have been, they're finding a way to end strong, to finish strong, and it's been nice. It's, again, every game's been competitive, knocking out big wins. We've seen a couple big time recruits as far as KU goes. We're not getting top 3 player in the nation, but KU still landing some big time recruits over these last couple wins, which again is kind of what you're playing for at this point. So it's been nice. I love when teams don't fold, because they could have
easily.
With the expectations they had and how it started, they could have just folded and really turned this into a disaster. So it's nice to see the bounce back. No fight in the team. Really hope they find a way to win the final 2 to go out on a bowl win. A lot of these seniors deserve something. They deserve to go out on a high. Was hoping it was a college football playoff berth, but these dudes who stuck it out in the era of the transfer portal, really just want them to be able to go out with that one extra game at the end, postseason game at the end. So it's been nice. It's been enjoyable. Still got a couple big ones left, so hopefully we can get on a couple more times and talk about KU dubs.
Yeah, so big one this weekend for both. Saturday football team playing at Arrowhead, Colorado coming to town. Dion, Shador, Travis Hunter, those guys. A lot of people are expecting a close to sellout crowd at Arrowhead, and I think a lot of that has to do with Colorado just has a good following themselves. And you think about it, it's not that far of a trip. You just hop on an airplane, jump over, and then boom, you're there. So Arrowhead's going to be fantastic for a college atmosphere. Outside of the fact that people are going to be able to tailgate. It's a 2:00 game, 2:30 game. So obviously good tailgating going on there at Arrowhead. And then obviously Basketball Tuesday, Vegas Classic. They're not doing a holiday tournament per se. It's more of a,
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's more of, hey, let's go play Duke right before Thanksgiving and call it a day, which is playing Duke now is going to teach you more about your team than playing in one of those holiday tournaments because you're not guaranteed to play a Duke level team. Like we've played good teams in the past, but this is Duke, young team early in the season. Cooper Flagg's obviously the must-see guy for this season, so I'm excited to see how we match up with him.
Well, and
Hopefully,
you even from a confident or a resume builder, even if you lose this close game to Duke, that's going to go to a quad one, like the best loss, neutral
yep.
site against a top team. So win or lose, it really is going to be a resume builder either way.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really why you play teams like Duke and North Carolina, because it's one of those win or lose, it's going to look good on the resume. That's just from like not a game view, but just kind of the long term season view, kind of what this game could mean.
Yeah. So again, just take care of business, stay healthy. Just because after Duke, it's not going to be much easier, honestly.
No.
You're going to have Furman, you're going to have Mizzou, Creighton's in there. Creighton's a good team this year. Mizzou, NC State. Then you're going to get into conference play here really, really soon. And just from looking at what the conference has been able to put out so far, there's some good teams. So just take care of your non-con, stay healthy, and then start non-con off strong against West Virginia. So that was number 3 on the hits. Number 2, we got a Cubs trade. Yeah, buddy. Number 2 on the hits. Cubs to acquire right-hand pitcher Eli Morgan from the Guardians. Sources told MLB.com's Jordan Bastain. I will let you kind of go in depth with this trade, as I'm sure you probably looked into it way more than I did. We both are in agreement. It's not going to be a huge splash. He's not going to overpower people. But he's something that the Cubs need, and this is a step in the right direction, even though it's not a huge. It's more of a Mustang, not a Ferrari, but he's gonna help a lot.
Yeah, it's one of those. Cubs operate like a poverty franchise, and I don't understand why they refuse to kind of. I don't know if like the Jason Hayward contract just like scared them away from doing anything like that again. With that being said, I like the move. He was a pretty good, highly touted dude coming up as a starter. He wasn't very effective as a starter. So the Guardians / Indians doing what they do found a way to make a pitcher good in some sort of role. Moved him to the bullpen, and 3 good years. He didn't have a full season this last year. He did have some arm issues, injuries, but when he pitched, he was good. Not going to be a high leverage guy. He's not going to be a closer or a setup man. Good middle innings guy. He can give you multiple innings if called upon. Not overpowering like you said, but he did. According to all those crazy ass baseball stats are out there, he had the 13th most effective changeup in baseball. So kind of average swing and miss, but he had elite numbers as far as hard hit percentage, which means he didn't give up many hard hits. On paper, it looks like the kind of pitcher the Cubs would want: pitch to contact, use your great defense you have. That is one of the Cubs' strengths, or should be. 3 years of team control, very cheap team control. It's one of those, like, unless we gave up like one of our top 3 prospects, which I really don't think we did. It's a move I like. It addressed a need. It's team control, and it looks like a pretty good team fit. So again, this isn't like you're going out trading for the biggest name, but it fits a team need at a cheap cost, and it has a lot of team control, which matters in baseball. I mean, you're trading for a dude for basically somebody from I think it was high A organization for 3 years of a good track record reliever. So I like the move. I hope it's not the only move. God, I hope it's not the only move, but it addressed a need. So again, nobody probably saw that and thought anything of it, but I got the text that we traded for him, and just also following the Royals, knowing who this guy was, seen him quite a bit. So it's a quality arm. You can never have enough in an organization, starting, relieving, or anything. So good move. Hope it's the first of many to come. Hopefully it's a move we sit back in late August, early September, and we're like, damn, the move nobody talked about besides us, of course, really panning out. So you never know in baseball with relievers. They're so up and down year to year. But right now I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's number one on the wish list for the offseason. Get those bullpen arms fine, right? Because your lineup's good. Maybe need some little more depth certain places, but obviously your starting pitchers are good. You don't have to worry about Hendricks anymore. He went to the Angels, so now you can kind of work in someone who's more deserving of that 5-start position. Maybe even someone who can move up in the rotation because you don't know about Steele and whatnot. And then obviously everyone's going to be bidding for the Japanese sensation pitcher, that 23-year-old. Cubs will obviously be in on that just because they have a good following, and they're very popular amongst the Japanese culture and population just because they have Imanaga and Suzuki. So,
and it all started with Fukudome back in the day too. So
yeah,
Cubs have always been in on those.
Yeah, and so I don't have much on Eli Morgan. I do. I mean, at least it was something I can look and say, oh yeah, at least that was a position in need. And then now the Royals need to kind of do something and quit waiting for certain dominoes to fall. So hopefully in the next few weeks we'll start talking more about the hot stove and what's going on in the Royals world. So let's go to number one. Big day, honestly, for the Chiefs as they get Pacheco and Charles Omenihu with limited participants in practice. That's a step in the right direction. That's per Adam Schefter. And then Andy Reid also said that Hollywood Brown's progressing very nicely. So he's on track, no setbacks as of now. Chiefs are getting healthier. Honestly, I wouldn't sleep too much on the Panthers. Chiefs should win by double digits, let's be honest. But at the same time, I don't think you need to rush those guys back this week. It's the Panthers. So give us your thoughts on Pacheco and Omenihu being very close to coming back.
Yeah, I think it would be a good week to actually have them return, just because you can really limit their snaps. I know it didn't line up that way, but it'd be a little different if we were going up against like the Bills this week and you kind of felt hard pressed to get your guys out there or play them a little too much. But I think bringing Omenihu and Pacheco back, both positions we've kind of held down okay without them. So you can kind of ease their way back into game speed and everything. It's exciting to have them back. Unfortunately, I mean, it's always good to get talent back, but at the same time, it's like I wish one of these were a corner. I wish one of these were a tackle. Because let's be honest, our defensive line, even without Omenihu's, looked pretty good. Our run game, when we've stuck with it and done it, Kareem Hunt's done an admiral. Let's be honest, the dude's probably saved a few games for us since he's come back. So yeah, it's awesome to get him back. I think we're going to need a few more playmakers down the stretch than we thought. Just with everything that we've lost defensively, there's a few more cracks in the defense than we initially thought, or what we had at the beginning of the season. So I think we're going to need a little more offensive playmakers. So getting Pacheco back, getting Juju back up to speed, Worthy's getting more and more involved. Our tight end room's still a really good tight end room. I still don't think Hollywood Brown will be back before the postseason, but if you're able to get him back even in a limited fashion for the playoff run, that would be good, because I think we're going to need it. I won't go too in depth, obviously, because we'll do that in a little bit, but last few weeks the defense has shown some cracks. Offense is going to have to step up. Defense is going to have to step up too, but I think we're going to need more from the offense than originally expected the first half of the season. So exciting to get these guys back. I'm excited to see how we split Pacheco and Hunt. It would be really cool if we just full-fledged dove into becoming a run team. I know since we've gotten Hunt, for the most part, he's been top the leaderboard in carries. It'd be nice to see that continue with the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Really just lean on that run game and limit the amount of possessions in a game. I know that's weird to say because you would never have thought you would say that in Patrick Mahomes' era. Like, we want to get as many possessions for this guy as we possibly want, but we got lucky a few games, but you're starting to see a lot more of the cracks that people were talking about. I'm still never going to doubt the Chiefs, Andy, and Patty when it comes to playoff time. But I do think you have a little higher level of concern. So getting anybody back of that level is welcomed.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for the hits. Those are the three big stories in our world that we thought that we needed to share. We'll bring you a new one in a couple weeks next time we pop on here. So I do want to talk a little bit. So last week we had brought up the question of who in the AFC could contend with the Chiefs. Honestly, if you listen, you know that we both were in agreement that if the Bengals caught fire, and made it to the postseason, that's probably who the Chiefs do fear the most, just because the Bengals do play the Chiefs better. Now, I know you can sit here and say, hey, Buffalo. Yes, but it's not January. So Buffalo typically does play against Kansas City rather well when it's not January. Another team that I do want to make note of, and you don't have to agree, obviously, but I'm starting to put a little bit more into the Steelers. They're 8-2. That's only a game back, honestly. They do play tomorrow night against the Browns. That should be a fairly easy win.
It's a divisional game, though. Let's be honest. Like,
division games are still tough.
You shouldn't judge your Steelers on what you see tomorrow, because we know how those games can get sometimes.
Yeah, it's a road game. They're in Cleveland, and we know that those games are still divisional games. This Myles Garrett still hates the Steelers. The Steelers still hate Myles Garrett. It's Jameis Winston, not Deshaun Watson. Winston's out here throwing 50 times. But I do, and something, if you would have listened to us preseason-wise, we did say the Steelers could be a good team, just for the fact that they have one of our favorite coaches, Mike Tomlin. We've always been a huge Mike Tomlin fan. I love watching his press conferences. There's no one who does a better press conference than Mike Tomlin, for one. Two, how he's able to get the most out of a not very good roster. He hasn't had a good, outside of the defense, the roster hasn't been all that great. And Steeler fans, I get it. You guys are a fun group, but let's be honest, that roster is not good. You won the offseason by getting two quarterbacks very cheap. It's kind of a win-win, I guess. Outside of last week, when Russ looked like Denver Russ has looked really good. Last week he kind of struggled a little bit more, had that terrible interception. I don't know what he was looking at that, but his deep ball to him and George Pickens together have been absolutely ridiculous. The run games looked better. Russ does look like he's lost a little bit of his step, just in the sense of he can still get out of the pocket, move around, but he's just not moving as quickly as he has. Okay, cool. He's older. I'm on the boat of, I think the Steelers should be a team to watch, just based on they're playing good football right now, and their defense is still one of the tops in football. Agree or disagree?
I'll say agree and disagree. I do think they are playing good football. I'm still not on the bandwagon of that's a team you really need to look out for. I don't know what it is. Truth be told,
we were just sitting a couple years ago, man. Me and you both were sitting a couple years ago saying, damn, I kind of do hope the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin. I was like, Denver should fucking hop on that immediately. Dude, Mike Tomlin's been that guy for so long, but at the same time, it's got to show at the end, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you could honestly say they're just like the Chiefs are this year, so I don't know what the difference is. Maybe it might be I still just believe postseason Patty and Andy a little bit more than postseason Russ and Tomlin. I don't know. They are playing good football. They are winning games, but they're still down the pecking order of teams that I would really worry about. They are just like any given Sunday, any team can win. Especially, you're not wrong with their defense. Their defense alone can win games for them. Their defense can obviously stop you from scoring points, but their defense can also just score points themselves. I will say this is one of the better Steelers teams, full teams that they've had in a few years for sure. They're kind of capitalizing on some other teams kind of slipping and falling, but I guess I'll say they're not a team that I'm worried about, but they're not a team that I would be surprised if they do make a really good run. because I do think the pieces are there for that. I still think they're just, and I know they just beat the Ravens, but I'd still rather face the Steelers than the Bills, than the Ravens, even still the Bengals. But I am happy to see Tomlin have success. I like them more than I like the Ravens, so kudos for that. But it has been fun to watch, so I'm curious to see how it ends for them.
Yeah, I think I guess we can play a hypothetical Chiefs Steelers game, which we will see Christmas Day. That should be fun. I'm real curious on how you guys go about TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, who's been hurt. He should be back by December 1st. I would be real curious to see how you guys play and match up with that.
We can't.
Yeah. So, but again, regular season, postseason, we've played this game with the Chiefs before, right? Like I get it. Chiefs could get blown out Christmas Day, and then let's say you guys do meet up with them in the postseason. Like it's not the same teams.
Isn't this kind of the time the Chiefs started losing all their games last year? And then we were all like, Chiefs are fucked. And then they just win every game on the road to the Super Bowl. So, again, I'm not freaking out and saying that's going to happen. And I'm not saying that these regular season games don't matter as far as, it's regular season, wait for postseason. Like, teams for, like, the Bills and the Steelers, like, regular season wins against the Chiefs for them can build so much momentum. It can add so much belief to your locker room, especially when you're playing end of the year like these are going to be. So when we say they don't matter, they really don't, but they also kind of do, just from that standpoint. Again, how you do in the postseason is what matters, but these games can build momentum and belief and absolutely do matter from that standpoint. And after this loss to the Chiefs Steelers could very much be a game for the number 1 seed. Let's be honest. These games could matter more than what we're saying or leading to believe when we say they don't matter. Because again, we're all about what do you do in the postseason, but these games still do matter from some point of view. So, yeah, I forgot they played Christmas. That's a good call out. I hope we're able to watch. Stupid Netflix, but yeah. Because you're not wrong. Like, you could throw a high school team out there against our tackles, and it's like, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop them. Hopefully, we just treat them like we would a Max Crosby. But then again, like, TJ Watt's surrounded by so much more talent than Max Crosby that, like, that could do more harm. So, yeah, it's going to be a good game, I hope. But we can talk about it when that comes. But
yeah, and we will.
Me saying I'm not concerned about the Steelers is not me saying they're not a good team.
So they go Browns, Bengals the next 2 games, then the Browns again. So 3 divisional games that should honestly
beat them up.
In all honesty, they should win all those games. Bengals, you never know which offense, which defense. But I'm looking at this last 4 games. They're on the road at Philly. They're on the road at Baltimore. Then they're at home against the Chiefs, and at home, and they end the season against the Bengals. They could fuck around and still be in play for that 1 seed.
Shit. That's a pretty brutal stretch run, though.
It absolutely is. Like
because the Bengals, let's just say they're going to do what we think, and they're going to remain in play for the playoffs. That game against the Bengals, that could be seeding implications for the Steelers, but that could be playoff hopes for the Bengals. Like, so the Bengals aren't going to lay down.
No, God, no, absolutely not.
Honestly, even if they weren't playing for playoffs, they're not just going to lay down to the fucking Steelers. Like, there's enough hate there,
game, bro. Yeah.
That's brutal.
It is. So my theory on this is, just me being me. Steelers are going to get the 2 seed, right?
You think they win the division still?
I do.
Damn.
So they get the 2 seed. Denver's the 7 seed. That's who Denver's playing first week of the playoffs.
Oh, that's what you hope for. Okay. Yeah, you're not too concerned for that.
Give me that. No, dude. I don't think Denver goes to Pittsburgh and wins a playoff game. I just think it's
Bo Nix has the ball, so, huh?
Baby, dude. I'm telling you, Bo against Russ, since they took that from me week 2. Yeah, dude. No, and that's not me taking a shot at Russ. Look, we talked before the season that we knew Russ still had a lot left to give. It was unfortunate that he obviously got hurt We're going to be upfront and honest. Yes, we thought Russ was going to start the season, but we honestly thought it was going to be flipped. This was going to be reversed. Yep. Russ was going to start. Justin Fields was going to come in. Not Justin Fields is going to start, and then Russ is going to come in. So, again, that's why Mike Tomlin is a fantastic coach, knows what he's doing. Not going to question, never questioned what he was doing. I did at first just because Fields wasn't playing terrible, but he just wasn't pushing the ball down the field like Russ is. So, again, I'm pulling for the Steelers. I think they're going to still win that division just because, they're 2 games up on the Ravens right now and 1 game back at the Chiefs. So,
but you heard that stretch run, man. I still think Steelers are a wild card team. I guess I'd have to compare it with what the Ravens have remaining down the stretch because let's be honest, the Steelers are going to drop a couple of those, I think.
Well, they could. That Philly game's going to be tough, right? That's Philly.
You'd like to think the Chiefs game will be tough.
Chiefs game at Christmas.
One of the Bengals games is probably going to get dropped.
Yeah, so it can go either way. I still think they're in play, even if they were to lose the Chiefs and Ravens game. It does become a little more interesting with them and the Ravens as far as who wins that division. Just for sake, I say they lose both. I still think that they do come out on top. I think they have the tiebreaker. Even though they split, I guess I'd have to see the head-to-head. Obviously, they won by 2. What do the Ravens do? So it's going to be fun.
I will double up on this with what we've seen through 11. Well, we're on week 12 now, so what we've seen through 11 weeks and just the AFC. The only reason I might give the Steelers kind of a heads up on a lot of teams. Again, not saying I'm a believer, but why I could see it. Ravens are a Swiss cheese defense. That's a problem. Chiefs defense, we've talked about it, has cracks now. The Bills defense, they've been pretty good. You could be looking at a Bills Steelers, just given that their defenses have looked the strongest. I know we're in an offensive league, which is why I think having a defensive team means even more than it ever has now. So I don't necessarily believe in them, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is like a Bills Steelers championship game because those 2 teams have displayed the most consistent and strength as far as defense goes. That would be what I would see. It's not because the Steelers and Russ are going to drop 40 points a game. It's because they're going to win those playoff games 16-13, 16-10, 13-7. And now that I say that out loud, I'm like, damn, maybe the Steelers really could make a run because honestly, in the postseason, defenses are last few years, Chiefs haven't won because of their offense, won because of their defense. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm still not putting my money on it, but I think the league would appreciate an AFC championship game that wasn't the Chiefs. And people are probably going to put their money down for Bill Steelers now. And it wouldn't be that surprising. So I hope that's not what we get. But I wouldn't be surprised. And truth be told, Josh Allen deserves a Super Bowl. So I don't want it to be the 3-peat year he gets it, but if it happens, it happens. But I think the AFC is way more open than the NFC, truth be told. So Steelers are one of those teams, whether I agree with it or not. You are what your record says, and their record's really good. So
yeah, and I give the edge to them in coaching as well. Like I said, dude, Mike Tomlin's a G. He keeps doing it. He keeps getting it done. Always getting the most out of his players. So whatever he's saying behind the scenes to his players, it's working as usual. So this is just one of those seasons where it's like, well, now you don't have to like squeeze out the last 2 out of 3 to get to your winning record. He's there. So stay tuned, right? Stay tuned over the next few weeks. It's going to get fun. Not only in the AFC, but I still think the NFC is going to be fun past the Lions. Like what's going to happen in the NFC West. So
let's not even sleep on the Chargers at this point, bro. Like,
yeah, unfortunately, Harbaugh's coming in doing his thing, which we called before the season again.
Yeah,
they got a coach. We called it. Their defense has played pretty good outside of Burrow, but at the end of the day, they still won. So
let's not even overlook the fact that if Chiefs fuck around and mess around a couple weeks, like Chargers are right there to still take the division.
Yeah, I think you guys still play the Chargers one more time.
Yeah, like usually by this time every year we've had the division locked up. And it's just I'm not trying to take shots at anybody. It's just how it's been. If we go on a stretch like we did the end of last year, we're not winning the division. I don't know what the Chargers. They look so bad on paper, and we mentioned it with Denver how we think they look better than what they do on paper. Like we think they were better than what they showed on paper, and like the Chargers on paper they're so bad.
Yeah.
But they're good. They're good, I guess? Question mark. So, let's not sleep on the Chargers either. I mean, it's basically just another version of the Steelers right now. Run the ball, decent quarterback play, rely on your defense. People can think what they want about Harbaugh. I love Harbaugh. I've always thought he was a great coach. However, he does it, cheating, not cheating, whatever. He wins. So. Let's not even overlook that. And that just goes into what we said. Like the AFC is so deep. Like there's going to be good teams sitting on the outside who don't make the playoffs. Just plain and simple.
And so we can go into kind of our next topic, which was kind of an AFC West talk real quick. You and I had talked after the game Sunday and then kind of seeing what the Chargers were doing before we shut it off. We didn't know it was going to get crazy again. The AFC West is set. Chiefs obviously are the Chiefs. Chargers have a coach now. They have their quarterback. Denver's obviously they have their coach. They have their quarterback. And then there's the Raiders who have nothing.
Nothing.
But between those three teams, and if the Raiders can ever figure their lives out, which they probably won't, those three teams could, the AFC West could be back to the glory days of getting those three teams who are, A, in the playoffs, or B, they're just beating the shit out of each other to get to the top of the division, but we're still talking playoffs because, again, they got their coach figured out and they got their quarterback figured out. Now the pieces are starting to fall into place to where good coaching can cover up some bad holes on your team, which we're starting to see. Obviously, Chiefs have their holes. Denver has holes. Chargers still have holes. Their coaches are good enough at scheming things to cover those for now.
Yeah, and I think one of the favorite conversations we've had kind of off the mic, I don't know how a lot of fans feel about it. I don't know if they like to have really good competition within the division and like competitiveness. I'm someone who I love when the division's stacked. It just makes you better in the long run. And I think one of the things we talked about was how AFC West looks set for at least the next 5 to 10 years, at least for the top three teams. I'm excited about that. I don't know how other fans feel about it. I don't know if they enjoyed the cakewalks. Again, I love winning, obviously, but I also just love sports that are competitive. And you look at the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, they're set in the areas that matter. And what you've kind of just drilled into everyone, coach and quarterback, coach and quarterback, coach and quarterback. Those three teams are set for a long time, barring any kind of massive injury, a weird ass trade, anything of that nature. Like the AFC West is going to be so competitive for the next 5 to 10 years, and it's going to be enjoyable. All those years watching like the NFC West be really good. It was fun to watch those games. We're not even fans of them, but it was still fun to watch like the Niners, Rams, Seahawks, occasionally the Cardinals, like all just battle it out. And you were like, damn, all those teams are really good. I'm excited to be able to say that about the AFC West. The cakewalks over the last decade or whatever have been nice, but just being able to watch really good football within the division twice a year for each of those, I'm excited for it. I don't think the Raiders will ever figure it out, but if they ever do, just to have 4 teams that are competitive would be really awesome.
Yeah, I'm not ready to pull receipts out yet on the people who were talking about Denver. We still got a ways to go.
I wasn't one of them.
No, you weren't. But I am going to kind of shift gears to the Broncos and Chiefs a little bit. Bo Nix today was named the Offensive Player of the Week for AFC, as well as the FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week for what he was able to do against the Falcons. So a few of his recent accomplishments was obviously Rookie of the Month, Rookie of the Week, AFC Offensive Player of the Week, obviously the Air and Ground Player of the Week, and then he tied the Broncos rookie QBT record. Yeah, I'm not going to pull the receipts quite yet, just because there's still 6 weeks left. Anything can happen. But again, he became the second rookie quarterback since Peyton Manning in '98 to record 200 pass yards and 2 passing touchdowns in 4 straight home games. He did say today that the game's slowing down compared to what it was the first 2 or 3 weeks, which is a good sign. Could be scary. Yeah, dude, it is what it is at this point. No need for me to kind of toot my own horn on it. I was super excited pre-draft about it, but now we're there. You got to fucking finish. Now it's time to get over the hump and win the games that actually matter. Don't go get blown out 41-10 against the contenders.
But this is kind of what we always point out. Like, everyone's so in love with looking at stats, and let's be honest, his stat lines were rough for a few weeks. But we always talked about how he was passing the eye test and how everything also wasn't necessarily him. Now, he has made some rookie throws, let's be honest. Like, it's happened.
He made rookie throws last week.
Patty still makes rookie throws, and this motherfucker's 20-time Super Bowl champ. So, like, it happens. Everyone falls so in love with the stats, especially with quarterbacks. And we talked about how the quarterback sometimes gets unfair love and unfair hate. And I think Bo Nix is one of those. Like, his stat lines were rough, so people were like, oh, he sucks. Well, no, man. Like, we were watching some games, and, like, he was dropping some dimes that were dropped. He throw dimes and have a big play, and then there was a Garrett Bowles hold. Like, sometimes it's not always the quarterback. The eye test, when we saw Bo Nix, even on shitty stat lines, we were like, this dude can play quarterback. And that's why you shouldn't fall so in love with stats sometimes, especially when you're talking rookie quarterbacks or quarterbacks in general. Like, Denver's receivers and tight ends haven't helped him out at all by making plays. They have a little more over recent weeks, but at the same time, like, it's not all him. You watch him play and you realize he is an NFL quarterback. What tier is he going to be in still? We don't know.
Exactly.
I remember Daniel Jones as a rookie throwing for 340 yards and 5 touchdowns against teams. Doesn't mean anything. I still don't think anyone who saw that still believed he was a quarterback. But what tier, we don't know yet. But we do know he can play a really good quarterback position. Whatever you feel about his stats doesn't matter. Just watch him play. It's not all him. It's not all against him. It's not all because of him. Like, the dude can ball.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I've noticed, the last few weeks was this. Prior weeks, the offensive line was still kind of, they were kind of not on the same page, I guess. He had to use his feet. I think that's kind of the turning point, because when he started using his feet, he wasn't turning the ball over nearly as much. But then you watch, even to the Chiefs game, he was more comfortable in the pocket. He didn't take off just to take off. He made the progressions, made the reads, made the throws, led him on that drive to get in the field goal range before obviously it was blocked. But that's still, that takes for a rookie quarterback to go on the road and do that. And then this last week, stay in the pocket, hit your receivers. If it's not there, hit your checkdowns. We even talked about, and we'll talk here a little bit more about it here in a second, is Sean Payton and Andy Reid's screen game. That's a quarterback's best friend. Now we're starting to see Sean Payton implement more of those screens. So again, helping the quarterback out, tough stretch coming up, finish strong, make the postseason. I don't expect us to make a huge deep run in the postseason, but at that point, I don't care. We made the postseason. That's a step in the right direction. We're probably a year ahead of schedule. Then you can go into the offseason and start plugging holes in, or filling in holes. But again, we're not going to spend too much on the Broncos-Falcons game. Falcons are the Falcons. I don't know what they were. We won't spend too much time on the Chiefs game either, but give us your reaction to. I thought it was still a great game. The 30-21 doesn't indicate how that game truly went. It's still a classic Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes game. But at the end, Josh Allen did make more plays, and that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but just the takeaways from the game. Josh Allen's still really good. It was a really good. It's just 2 good teams playing football. It honestly felt like the Chiefs were lost by more than they did. Let's be honest, the Bills, I felt, outplayed the Chiefs by a pretty hefty margin. Chiefs are just a championship team to where they aren't just going to get blown out rarely ever, no matter how much they're outplayed or outmanned or whatever. But yeah, my biggest takeaway is just you're starting to see the defensive cracks a little more. Losing some secondary people hurt. They kind of were just going after Johnson the whole time. That's just really good coaching and quarterback play by Josh Allen.
Yeah, you made a few comments during the game about Najee, obviously going to his side every time.
Just line up and see where 13's at, and you're going at him.
Right.
It's smart. Somebody's going to have to step up. We're in a passing league now to where you start getting a little thin at the cornerback. It's going to show. Even Steve Spagnuolo and his exotic blitzes, those don't matter if your corners can't hold up. Let's be honest, last year with Snead and McDuffie on those exotic blitzes, you really had nowhere to throw. They were holding their own. This year it's a little different. Even Duffy's been burnt a couple times. In his defense, I think he's being asked to take on a significant amount of workload at the corner position, which no excuse, still got a ball out, but he's still a good corner. But some of these cracks are showing, and I'm curious to see how we respond. Do we go away with some of those exotic blitzes, play coverage, and just hope that our front can generate pressure? Because these corners aren't going to hold up with these blitzes, because these blitzes you're put on an island by yourself, and they haven't proven to be up to the task. So really just curious to see the adjustment. I'm curious to see if we continue playing him, see if someone else wants to step up. In the end, barring some kind of just absolute disaster, Chiefs are still going to be in the postseason one way or the other. Hopefully we can still make a run, but I think there's a little more work to be done on both sides of the ball now than we even thought a couple weeks ago. So this is where you're going to see the coaching come into play, honestly. How do we adjust?
Yeah, so I posed the question to you last week after the Broncos game of concern for the offensive line and how Denver was able to get pressure on Patrick. You saw key moments in the Bills game. Von Miller, those guys were able to do the same thing. So that's kind of what I mentioned a couple minutes ago with Denver and Sean Payton with screen game. I think this is where Andy's going to start, because let's be honest, the play design and how he sets screens up, not only for the running backs, tight end screens, wide receiver screens. I think as we get further along and the tackles continue to struggle a little bit more, I do think we're going to start seeing more of the screen game. Because, I mean, even as a Broncos fan, just watching the Chiefs, I think the offensive line is a huge concern.
The tackles.
The tackles, yes. Sorry. There was a handful that were getting some interior pressure on Trey Smith a little bit too. So, but for the most part, it was the defensive ends on the tackles that are able. So what's the best way to do that? Push those guys up the field, get a screen coming in right behind it.
And I think that's with getting Pacheco back. I think you're going to see something you probably have never seen from an Andy team. I think we're going to run the ball a lot. We're going to kind of make the edges hesitate a little bit, pause a little bit. Run. Can I just go straight up the field? Because if I do that, Pacheco or Hunt's going to go right through this gap. So we've kind of seen the Chiefs become a running team. I think you're going to see it even more now, not just because they're getting Pacheco back, but what you said, like the tackles are a concern. We're not going to just like press our luck and hope it works out. Like Andy's going to adjust. I still don't think we're going to tip our hand too much of like actual game plans. Like they'll still try to win games, but if we're sitting here going into the postseason having this same conversation about tackles, it would not surprise me, given the defensive holes too. So defense having cracks and our tackles would not surprise me if we're a 70% run team come postseason.
Yeah, and I think you'd see a lot more that way. Yeah.
Bootlegs, little tight end screens out of that. It would not surprise me, because as much as I say the Chiefs are kind of going through the motions and just getting to the postseason, everything is going to be on the table come postseason time. if Andy has to put his pride aside and become a 70% run coach, he's going to do it. They're not going to let pride or ego or anything get in the way of a three-peat. I truly believe that's the direction they're going. We've stacked the tight end. Hell, we kept 2 tight ends. We drafted a tight end. We traded for a tight end. We signed a tight end. Like, they have something up their sleeve, and I wholeheartedly believe it's to become that power team, that run team, and then just hope that defenses step up a little bit, and that's when Worthy and some of these other guys get their chances. But you're not wrong. Chiefs tackles, that's probably the biggest concern. You can't do anything if you don't have good tackle play.
Yeah, and I think you're Patrick can run, but obviously he's not 100% there with the ankles, both ankles, obviously. He'll still run with needed, and in postseason he's obviously going to be just fine. He'll get there, but it's still a concern. You don't want him taking the unnecessary hits, the blindside shots, essentially, are what they're getting. And I mean, and teams are getting smarter with how they're blitzing him. They're still a little too much of the middle of the field open for my liking when they do blitz the dude, because that's the first place he goes, middle of the field, and then boom, he'll make his way to the sideline, and before you know it, he's up 20 yards. So, but at the end of the day, his sack numbers are still up high. And then again, just watch the games and you can see the tackles struggling. So that's kind of where I started thinking, well, the screen game, Andy's really good at the screen game. No reason why that can't become part of it. I mean, you see, even against the Buffalo Bills, P. Ryan started getting into the screen game a little bit there at the end, second half, just to try to get, a little bit of the pressure taken off the quarterback. So, again, Panthers this weekend, not too much to really dive into with the Panthers. Obviously, they're 3-7. Bryce Young's looked a lot better since coming back. He even looked pretty decent against the Broncos, his first start back. And then the Giants, but that doesn't count. Either way, Bryce Young's looked good. Their offense looks like they're taking a step in the right direction. It'll be interesting to see how Chuba does against the Chiefs defense. Chuba Hubbard's looked great. That's one of their bright spots on their offense. Again, 10.5-point favors for the Chiefs. Is there really anything that we need to dive into with Chiefs Panthers?
No, I mean, because the one thing Chiefs defense has been good is stopping the run so far. I feel like if you kind of minimize what Chuba can do, you're setting yourself up for success, because him running all over you is really what can keep Panthers in the game. My only thing I hope for is obviously get a win, and then just please no more injuries. Like that's where I'm at. Like, can we just please stay healthy, get healthy? Let this be like a old school high school game where third quarter you can put your backups in. Like, let's get Carson Wentz some reps, boys. Like, let's go. Again, it's an NFL game, probably not going to happen. But yeah, not a lot of concern. I just get a win, stay healthy. Let's move on. I'd like to see him play with a little more energy, though.
Yeah, these are the games that are tough to get up for.
Yeah, well, and the Chiefs haven't really got up for any game this year. I'd like to see him come out with a little energy, a little fight. Let that, I know it's not the end of the world, but show that loss to the Bills did kind of piss you off a little bit, kind of wake you up. But other than that, there's really not a deep dive you can do with the Panthers. Just don't lose. I guess if they do lose, at least we won't be on here for 2 weeks, so maybe we'll forget.
We'll slip right over it.
Yeah, we'll have another game to talk about, but yeah, you're not wrong. Not a lot to dive into. Minimize Chuba Hubbard, and you should be okay.
Which is what, Denver had the tough loss against the Chiefs and then just completely came out with fucking full of energy and beat the piss out of the Falcons. Yeah. You guys can do – that's something similar that should happen this week with the Chiefs, honestly. Stay healthy. I don't think it's going to be a close game. Give me the Chiefs well over 10.5. I don't think Bryce Young and those guys can – I don't think they do much against the defense. That's not a shot at them. They're just not quite there yet. They're still a few years away. So Broncos, Raiders week. I fucking hate the Raiders. Please do not lose this game. Okay, I'm sitting here. I'm telling you guys, I'm so pumped about the Broncos, how I think this is, this is a playoff team. The last thing you can do is lay an egg to the Raiders because all the cool shit I said today goes out the window. So I'm
Bo
going.
Nix might not be able to be a quarterback. Like,
Guys fucking falling. Oh my God.
what's worse, a Chiefs loss to the Panthers or a Broncos loss to the Raiders? Like,
No, I think it's still a Chiefs loss to the Panthers.
I don't know, man. I think if you told me I could only win one of those two games, like, let me beat the Raiders. Fuck, the Panthers are irrelevant. Like, I don't give a shit about them.
True. So I'm once again asking the Broncos to make sure Max Crosby doesn't beat them. That's the only concern I have with their defense is Max Crosby. It's always going to be Max Crosby. As long as he's a Raider, that's that key to the game. Stop Max Crosby, go win the game. Didn't look too good the first game they played against the Raiders, dropped down 10-0, but then they fucking figured it out. And I think that was Bo Nix's turning point for him was.
No, I was just say, do you think they put Surtain on Bowers permanently? Like, that's their offense.
Bro, I've been asking Broncos to do certain things with Surtain the last 3 weeks, and they haven't done it. So I don't think so. I don't.
Because that could really keep Raiders in the game against the Broncos.
It could. He tore the Broncos
It's a
up.
matchup nightmare for their safeties and linebackers. Let's be honest. Like,
Well, we saw that in the first matchup with the Raiders. Bowers had that long catch, but then for some reason, and I don't know if it was because we did put Surtain on him or what, but I'm looking back through to try to find where that box score is.
Because he's really been the one person that moves their offense. And you have somebody size and speed that can guard him. Like,
yeah, he had 8 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown the first go around. Jacoby Myers also had 6 catches for 72 yards.
Yeah, let him eat. I got him in fantasy.
Yeah, so again, the running game, But again, at the end of the day, yeah, I personally would put Pat on Bowers. Maybe Brandon Jones, I don't know, and then have Pat on Jacoby. I'm not sure.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, so either way, we got to run the football. I think Denver does win this game. I think we get. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, though. I'm just not there. I don't think Denver's in that realm to say that they're going to go blow them out. But I do think at the end we come out with a dub just because the Raiders are still the Raiders. I don't know if they can figure themselves out. And then we move on. And then we start that little stretch of very important games to against possible playoff teams who are battling Colts, Browns, Bengals. So take care of it, move on, go from there. So I didn't get my fantasy pick in last week. You did. You went 2-0. Drake May and Drake London. You went to Drake's. Drake London was your bust. Drake May was your sleeper.
Yep.
2-0. I'll let you go first this week.
Yeah, so I think you're really going to like my sleeper. It might even be who you had. I'm taking Bo Nix as my sleeper. Mostly because he's still not projected very high in fantasy realms. And we obviously just know my hatred for the Raiders. So, obviously not a Broncos fan either. But hatred for the Raiders is real. So, Bo Nix, sleeper. I think he has another 300-yard, 3-touchdown game minimum. I do think he's going to get 40 or 50 rush yards just because Max Crosby is going to win some pass rushes. And Bo has been really, really good at pocket presence and taking off when he needs to. So I think it's going to be a really good fantasy day for Bo Nix. Way more than the 16 he's projected. Let's have a little respect. But with that being said, my bust is going to be Kenneth Walker. I just don't like the path the Seahawks are on right now, and I really love how the Cardinals have looked coming out of a bye as well. Kenneth Walker has almost become that touchdown or bust guy now. He did have that 2 or 3 game stretch where he was catching 9 passes a game, which was kind of abnormal and hasn't really sustained it. So he's become more of a touchdown or bust kind of guy. And I don't like how that offense looks right now. I'm kind of a believer in the Cardinals, so I don't think Kenneth gets to his 16-point projection this week. Kenneth Walker's my boy, so that one hurts a little bit. I always liked him, but like obviously you're still going to start him because I mean RB1 still, but maybe temper expectations a little bit. With that being said, he's probably going to have a 200-yard, 5-touchdown game.
Hopefully, I'm not playing him. Yeah. So the funny story is, I'm going literally both games that you picked from. I wasn't going Bo Nix. Yeah, I know. I'm going Javonte though. Javonte Williams. He's only projected, let me see, 10, but he's career best against the Raiders. Like that's his. He plays the Raiders really well. We questioned last week if it was time to maybe make Estime the lead guy, and I told you I didn't think it was quite there yet. It's closer than some think. It's closer than some realize. I don't think it's this season. I think it's something that we talk about in the offseason. But for this week, give me Javonte as a sleeper against the Raiders. I expect him to have a very good game. He did have 16 points the last time they played, and I do expect him to get into that 16 to 20 range again, and hopefully for a Broncos dub. As far as my bust goes, I'm going Kyler Murray as my bust. It's on the road at Seattle. I think, if I remember correctly, that's some pretty shitty weather going on, which could also help him run more. That could be very dangerous. They're 14th in fantasy points to quarterbacks, so they're kind of in that middle ground. He is coming off a very good, almost 30-point game against the Jets. I think the Seahawks are a little bit above the Jets as far as that goes. Your coach of the year pick, McDonald, looked pretty good. He still has them playing okay.
Their defense has been good. I just don't like their offense.
Yeah, their defense hasn't been the problem. Their quarterback is, but that's not for us to sit here and dissect. One thing that you should know is Kyler is my bust this week against the Seahawks. We shall see how that goes. Hopefully I can go 2-0 like you did. So again, no episode next week. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving from us to you guys. We will be back home in Kansas, so no episode next week. We will jump back on the week after. I am trying to get a fantasy football group. I'm trying to get something worked out with them for that first week of December. If that doesn't match up, we'll try for the second week of December. But I do know I want them on because we're getting close to fantasy playoff time, and it'll be fun. For those of you that are doing fantasy football and have the fantasy playoffs coming up, hopefully we can get these guys on and chat some fantasy playoffs. Hopefully we're talking about a couple dubs. Chiefs play the Raiders on Black Friday. So that'll be something we talk about our next episode. So again, find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Thank you to our new listeners. I think I was looking at the map we had. I think it was Washington State, and then out in, I think Idaho. I think Idaho was on the list. So again, thank you guys.
Sorry about that. BYU. I guess they're Utah, huh?
Yeah, that's Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go find us on Instagram. Also, that's at Shovick Sports. Thank you to all the new follows. I think we're getting closer to 300 followers on there. So that's awesome. And again, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.